Hello everybody. Um, I hope that you can hear me. Um, we're ready to start our new webinar for today. I'll give it just one more minute for any other people to show up. Waiting for it to be 6:01 p.m. here in Athens. Okay, so again, welcome to everybody who is here for the webinar. My name is Stefanos. I'm one of the founders of Phenometry, and we built the Phi3D freeform surface modeler. And today we're going to focus on loading, saving, and exporting your work from Phi. And also I'll talk a little bit about working with many bodies. So not just one body, but more bodies in the same scene, in the same model. And yeah, so and as always, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and I'll try to leave a little time towards the end anyway to discuss things. And yeah, so thank you for sharing any designs you have sent over, and let me switch to our application. So let's see if I can do this. Okay, so here we are. So let me restart so I remind anybody who is not very familiar about how we can run Phi. Here we are within the Onshape environment. As always, I like to run Phi within Onshape. Let me delete this. Oops. Okay. Let me delete this tab. You can also run Phi independently of Onshape in a standalone browser tab. But you can also run it from within Onshape and take advantage of all the capabilities and functionalities that Onshape has to offer. So here I'm running Phi, and it opens in a new tab, as you see. I guess by now you know all this. Let me make my face a little smaller so you can see what's happening. There you go. As I said, we'll talk a little bit about multiple bodies within the same scene, and I'll also talk about saving and loading models and exporting models in various different ways. So, as you probably know already, if I skip this welcome window, I get the option to start either with a default object that we present, or to load something from the cloud. And by cloud, in this case, we mean the Onshape cloud, so models that we have saved within our Onshape document, or from a file on our laptop, on our local file system. So I'll start with just a cylinder now. Let me call this file name, I don't know, test. So this will load my cylinder, as you can see here. Now, I might want to have more bodies within this same model. And one way to do it is to start from the existing body, for example, this cylinder, and select all of it, and then hit Ctrl+C. So Ctrl+C is actually doing a copy of my cylinder into a new body, and the manipulator is added directly for me, so I can pull it out of the way, as you saw here. So from one cylinder I went to two, and I can hit A to select everything, and then Ctrl+C again. So now I made a copy of both bodies together, so you can copy more than one body at a time. However, you don't necessarily need to copy the entire body. For example, I will try this now. I will select only these two faces of this cylinder, and I will hit Ctrl+C, and as you will see, only these two faces have been copied. So I'm left with the original cylinders and just two faces of that cylinder that I copied. And so by using this Ctrl+C functionality, we are able to make copies of either bodies or parts of bodies, so one or more faces. And another way in which we can end up with more than one body in a scene is the following. As you all know, here on the left, this first icon is to restart the model. So if I click on this, it will get rid of everything I have here, and it will prompt me to start fresh with, again, one of the options we just saw. So either a cylinder or another body, or to load something from file or from the Onshape cloud. However, the next icon down here, it says load model into current one. So if I select this one, I can choose, for example, a cube or something else, just like before. And if I do a load, you saw that this cube was imported into the current model. Now it ended up exactly over the cylinder, so I'm moving it out of the way. So in other words, with the second icon here, the load into, I can bring more objects or more entire models into the current one without substituting or losing my current work. So that's another way of having more models within the same design, more bodies within the same design. Now, once you have several bodies, like you see here, first of all, let me make sure that it was clear that when I did the copy of the cylinders, each new cylinder that appeared is completely independent from the previous ones. So there's no relation between them. If I do any modification here, it doesn't affect any of the other copies. Now, if I wanted to join bodies into one, the standard way of doing it is to select some of the faces of one body, like those, and some of the faces of the other body, like there, and then doing a bridge. So the bridge command, as you saw, will create a new volume that will connect. It will be the bridge effectively between the two sets of faces that I selected, thus taking the two bodies and merging them into one body. So that's the way to you make a union of bodies, to merge them into one. And however, there's also the opposite operation. We have talked in the past about the dissolve command, where, for example, let me give an example here. I select these three faces of this cylinder, the yellow ones now. I hit dissolve, and what this does is it removed those three faces and it substituted them with just one face to fill the gap that was left. So this face effectively runs from all of the edges that were around the faces I selected. And you see that it takes a very elastic shape. It's almost like a fiber that was placed there, attached to all of the edges to fill that gap. But if I do the same in this case here, where I have selected this, effectively it's a loop of faces. It creates like a band, like a ring all around the body. Now if I hit dissolve, the result, as you saw, is that it removed those faces. And what else can it do but fill the two gaps independently with two independent sets of faces. So the dissolve, when used in sets of faces that form a complete ring around your body, has the effect of effectively splitting the body into two by removing those intermediate faces and also filling the gaps that were left on either side, so on either of the two bodies. So we have seen how we can create multiple bodies within the same model, and how we can merge them with bridge command, or how we can dissolve them to separate a body into more. Very good. Now, we have also discussed in the past the snap operation. So for example, I select this vertex here, I hit the snap command, and then up here on the right I'm prompted to click on another vertex, like this one here. So what you saw is that the vertex moved and the faces around it were deformed to accommodate this movement of the vertex onto the one that I snapped to. However, if I repeat this and I keep the Shift key pressed while I snap, you saw here that the entire body moved. It didn't deform, it rigidly moved to snap onto that vertex. So the two bodies were not united into one, however, by snapping a vertex on another one, or by snapping, in this case, an edge onto this edge here, or with the shift key. Right, actually you cannot use the shift key when you snap an edge to another edge to move the entire body rigidly, because we cannot assume that the two edges are identical, so some deformation may need to happen. What the shift key does when you snap an edge onto another edge, and this is something that we saw in a previous webinar, but I'm just doing a quick reminder, it will snap the edge not onto the entire target edge, but onto part of the target edge, the part that geometrically corresponds. So if one edge is much shorter than the other and things like that. But that's beside the point now. So we saw a way in which we can bring a body next to another, but that's not actually a unification of a join of the two bodies, it's just a geometric placement. But there is one last command I want to talk about. So let me make a copy of this cube here, and let me move this out of the way. So I have these two cubes, and I think we have already discussed this in the past, but if I select these two edges that are across from each other, I can then use the stitch command that is right underneath the bridge command. So what this does, visually it looks like it just snapped one edge onto the other, which it did, but it did also something more. It actually merged the two bodies into one. So if I pull this edge out of the way, and also do the same with the other edge, you see here that the two cubes have been joined, and in fact they are one body. So let me illustrate this by bringing in the section view. So if I cut through this body, you can see that it is one single body. So that's another way of merging two bodies into one. Okay, so I think that's all I had to say about working with multiple bodies. We quickly went through the different options that you have. Now, I would like to focus a little bit more on loading, importing, exporting. So first of all, let me start again. Let me just start to make a few points. I will load this cube and I will give it the name cube 1. Okay, so I load this. There it is, and after a moment you will see, there it is, a new tab appeared with the name cube1.phi. So effectively what we're doing is phi is auto-saving your work every few seconds onto a tab within your Onshape document with the name that you have chosen for it. And you see also here on the left, the name is displayed for you, so you remember it. And if I do any change, immediately it changes to unsaved, so you see it says it's unsaved. So for a few seconds this change that you've done has not been yet saved, but we will see after a little more time passes that this will be this will change to auto-saved. We need to give it a few more moments. It happens every, I think, 45 seconds, the autosave. In the meantime, you can keep working, of course, on your model, making other changes, and when the time comes, phi will autosave this into your tab. There you go, saving, and then it changed into autosaved. So now you know that your work is already protected and saved into this little file here, into this tab. If at any moment you want to save this with another name, you can use the save button here, and so I can call this, for example, cube2, and I can save it either in Onshape, in a new tab, or I can even download it onto my file system if I click here. For now I will do the Onshape save, so I hit save, and this will now appear in yet another tab. There it is, cube2. And from now on, you see also the file name has been updated here, cube2, I hope it's visible. So any more work I do on this model now will be auto-saved for me into cube2. So we have this autosave mechanism that is constantly working for us, as long as we're connected with Onshape though. If you're running phi standalone, then we currently don't have the autosave mechanism. This is something that Onshape helps us with, so we take advantage of the Onshape storage. And you can also save the file explicitly, giving it a new name, either on the Onshape cloud or to file, depending on what you want. Very good. So we've seen how you can load a new model, either by starting fresh or loading it into the existing model. So adding anything from a file or a new body into your current scene. And we've seen how Phi autosaves within the Onshape cloud, or you can use this button to explicitly save. Now, you can also export your work. By exporting, what I mean is, until now, all of this saving happens within our own proprietary format. We have developed a very lightweight representation of the models so that it's saved in files with as small size in terms of bytes as possible. But you may also want to export your work in a different format. So these two buttons allow us to do that. Let me first focus on this one. This is a button that I think I have used many times in the webinars. It's the button that says Send to Onshape. So if I click on this, I can give it a name, or I can leave it with the already selected name, and I hit Send to Onshape. And as I think I've said many times, what happens behind the scenes is that this model is translated on our server and then sent over to Onshape and translated into an Onshape Part Studio, and there it is. So this is an Onshape Part Studio that contains exactly the work that we did in Phi. And again, I'll mention once more that there's this mechanism whereby if I make a change to my model, actually let me go back to Onshape and hide these planes. So yes, well, the point I like to make often is that maybe you want to, for example, I don't know, fillet these straight edges here with a certain radius. There it is, that looks nice. Okay, so I've done this post Phi, let's say, operation. I filleted this model. Now if I go back into Phi and for instance I select this face and I pull it up like this to change the shape of my model, there you go, and then I hit the export, actually the Send to Onshape button again, what we will see now is what we call a live update. So after a few moments you will see that the shape will change. There it is, that's the new shape after my work in Phi. However, the downstream features like these two fillets that I added are preserved for me. They're still there, so that's very convenient. Of course, if you do dramatic changes and these edges do not exist anymore, for example, or are very significantly changed, then you may lose some downstream features and you'll have to reapply them. I think that's understandable. Okay, so back to Phi. We saw the possibility of sending your work to Onshape, but we also have this button here that says Export. And if I hit on it, I have two options: export as STL and export as step. If I export as step, I will give it a file name or just leave it as it is, and I hit the export button, and this will create a new file which is automatically downloaded on my file system. There it is, and that's effectively my model translated into the industry standard step model. And so let me just quickly show you what it looks like in case you're curious or interested, which I really don't know why you would be, but anyway, since we're here, this is the step file that I just created. So it's a text-based file, and it includes a complete description of all of my geometries, full precision, everything with machine accuracy, or almost, yeah, I think 12 decimal places. So that's your work in step format. You can send it over to any other CAD system or CAM or do whatever you want with it. So that's one option, and the other option is to go with STL. So STL, as you know, is a format that is, first of all, it's STL is, what's the word? Unitless. So it's like a unitless description of your model. And again, you need to give it a name. And STL is basically a mesh description of your model, so every single face is triangulated. And here we give you the option of determining how many triangles you want per face. And I think 500 triangles is usually a standard option. You can go for a lot more. I'll make this 2000, I don't know. Oops, sorry. And then again I hit export, and I will get an STL file saved for me. And again, since we're here, let me show you what it looks like. It's a text file as well, unitless, and it's basically a description of really many thousands of triangles that describe your model. And the good thing is that an STL file is ready for 3D printing, so you can just send it over to a slicer, one of the standard software packages that you use to prepare for 3D printing, and then you load it on your 3D printer and you're good to go. So it's really easy to export your work from Phi, either into Onshape directly, as we saw, or simply save it into STL and then load it into a 3D printer through slicer software that will completely standard. It will create I think it's called the G code that you need to then load onto your printer, and you have your model ready for you. And so I think that with this, I think that with this I have exhausted the topics that I wanted to cover today, which have to do with multiple bodies and saving, exporting, loading models. So let me see for a moment if there's any question in the chat. I don't see any questions, I think. Yeah, I don't see anything in the live chat. What can I do? I think we're done for today. Let me take advantage of these last few moments just to show you again a couple of things about exporting. As you saw, I loaded a new cylinder. I can select this face and do a pop-out with a P shortcut, and then one more. And as we are, I will now shrink this face like that. And in fact, I think I will also select this shrink here, and I will also shrink that one with the move tool. Okay, I will hide my vertices and edges. So we have this very nice model here, which looks a bit like a lava lamp, I would think. Maybe select that part and make it a little wider. Yeah, this looks more like a lava lamp, I guess. And right, if I turn on the triangulation view, the wireframe view, this is very similar to what you would expect if you export this to STL. And you will see some discontinuities here, which are visual artifacts. So if I go into settings and I increase the number of triangles that I display per face to, for example, 7,000, you see that these are gone. So these were just the way we display the triangles for this model. And now if I export this to STL, as I did before, I'll call it lava. What I wanted to show is that come on, if you load the, for example, the Mac File Explorer, it has an built-in STL viewer. So if I select my STL file here, you can see immediately that it's an STL. You can see what it looks like. And if I go back and export it to STL with higher accuracy, so like 5,000 triangles instead of 500. Oh, I didn't give it a name. What did I do? Yeah, you see that this is a lot more accurate. There's a lot more precision here with respect to that one. Yeah, so this was just to demonstrate that this is a perfectly standard STL file that you can then 3D print. All right, I think I'm done really. I'm just wasting everybody's time, so there's no reason to do that. Out of just creative curiosity, I will, I don't know, possibly make this a little more interesting and send it over to Onshape, and just spending a few minutes looking at the chat, but in reality I'm done really. So let's see how Onshape will like this model here, and then I will let everyone go. Actually, I think that this is there's only one more webinar in our series, which will be next week, and I think Georgia will be doing it, which is great. Yeah, so this is my little model here in the Onshape environment. So just to demonstrate once again how you can send things in and out. So back to my little presentation. As every time, please feel free to reach out with questions and also to share designs that you make. We're happy to showcase them and also help you solve any problems you have and things like that. And so yeah, next week, oh, and also please subscribe to all of our social media, that if you use them, we're happy to have more followers. A word again that we have very convenient packages for educators, students, and also educators, teachers at all levels. Reach out to this email and we'll be more than happy to try to help you with your needs. And that's it from me. So thank you, have a great evening or day, and see you next week then. Bye bye.